Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, future leaders of the Advocacy Youth Foundation, Roots2Leadership fellows. It is delightful to have you all here this morning. My name is John Adeleke, and I am the moderator for today's program. I would like us all to feel the free test and acknowledge that we have filled it if we have done so before. The link is dropped on the chat box and also on your WhatsApp chat days before now. I don't just need you to acknowledge, but I want you to type on the chat box that I have filled my pretest. I want your acknowledgement. I have 6 people that have acknowledged that they have filled the pretest, and we have 13 people on the call right away. Please kindly reach out to some of your colleagues or friends that are together with you on this platform for you to inform them that we have started this meeting and our faculty officer is already here with us. This meeting is a 1 hour 30 minutes meeting, and I promise to keep to time if you guys are going to be cooperating with me. The first 5 minutes is for us to fill our picture. Fill the pretest and acknowledge that you have filled the pretest. I have 9 people that have acknowledged right away, and we have 13 people on the call. Kindly go to the chat box and acknowledge if you have filled the pretest. The link has been dropped in the chat box. And also go to the WhatsApp chat to mobilize your fellows, your friends that are not here to join the meeting. The start time is 11 a.m. Our faculty officer is already on the meeting, and as soon as his times emerge, I'm introducing him. Kindly fill your pretest. You are supposed to have 5 minutes to do this. Ladies and gentlemen, future leaders, we are expecting your response on the pretest, please. 14 people are on the meeting now. Kindly chat your friends, your fellow colleagues to join this meeting. You can do well as much as calling them as well. We just elapsed our 5 minutes for the pretest filling, and I'll be moving to the next section. We have 13 people on this call. and we are supposed to be more than this. Moving forward, I want us to, for those of us fellow that have been on this meeting for a while, and for those of us present here today, I want you to go to the chat box or you raise up your hand and tell us what has resonated with you so far during the course of this fellowship from day one to the module 8 that we have now, from the onboarding to the module 8 that we are now. What is that one thing that has resonated and you have learned from this fellowship? Or what is that one thing that has really changed or impacted you so far? I want you to drop that in the chat box or you raise up your hand and I will call you, you unmute your mic and tell us. We have 5 minutes for this. And I tell you, I will keep the time. I'm waiting for a response. The floor is open. Raise up your hand and I'm going to pick you to talk. And if you are ready to talk, let me know. Is there anybody that wants to say anything on this? Kindly raise up your hand and let us hear from you. Ladies and gentlemen, leaders of today, I'm waiting for a response. What is that one lesson you have learned that have actually resonated and changed a lot in you during the course of this training? I have 2 minutes left for this. Farouk, you can go ahead, unmute your mic and let's hear you. So I have a chat which I'm going to read if Farouk is finding it difficult to unmute his mic. So Freddy Friday said, one thing that has resonated with me during this fellowship is the need for me to be audacious in holding power accountable. That is brilliant. Thank you, Freddy, for your swift response. Farouk, you raised up your hand. Please, let's hear from you. Thank you. Farouk, the floor is open. Unmute your mic and let's hear from you.
Probably his network is having glitch.
All right. So any other person, can we hear from you? So far, what have
Yeah,
you learned from the training?
can I say something?
You can go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity. Aside many others, one of the things that stood out for me is where the Fasasi made mention of that leaders are always servants, that leadership has to do with service, that everybody that must emerge the role of leaders must have that quality of service, that we should start serving in our respective areas, at home, at schools, wherever we find ourselves, we should make service a priority. So these things has been resonating in my mind for a while now. So I just wanted to add it up. Thank you.
That is brilliant. Thank you for sharing, and we really acknowledge your contribution. So I have another contribution in the chat box from Madaki. Sorry if I murdered this name. Gajere. Is that well pronounced, Madaki? And Madaki said, I have learned a lot, but one thing that stood out for me is that I I, irrespective of one's status, they have the right to also participate. Okay, participate in governance. Thank you very much, Madaki and Madaki Gajere. Esther Abimiku. Okay, a lot resonates with me. The FYF route to leadership is timely for me as an advocate who started as advocate against child molestation. I was almost giving up because it seems everything has to do with being loyal to politicians and getting reward. But the training helped me to stood my ground as one who is set to stand out, not to fit in. Thank you very much, Esther Abimiku. Thank you for standing your ground and standing fit. All right, I have other write-ups coming in from different leaders, which our time will not permit us to read everything. I actually gave the time for us to say what we have to say during this section, and we have exceeded that time. And I want to keep to time. It's part of a good criteria of a leader being on time, keeping to your word and keeping to time is one of those things that are very essential as a good leader. Not copying from politicians that will come to meeting very late and still want to leave in a rush. So a lot of them will have excuse. So we are 2 minutes late, and I'll be diving into introducing our facilitator for today. And I want you all to pay attention as I introduce our facilitator. Our facilitator for today is Mr. Onoh Udochukwu Esq. He is a human rights, climate, and environmental advocate with over 4 years of experience advancing sustainable development through a right-based approach. His work is driven by understanding that climate change poses significant threats to fundamental human rights, including the right to life, livelihood, movements, and property, particularly among vulnerable populations. He is the founding partner of Chiwills Attorneys and Solicitors, where, where he combines legal expertise with policy advance and the environmental justice initiative. His work focuses on intersection of climate change, human rights, governance, and sustainable development. He has co-authored articles published in international journals with particular emphasis on impacts of climate change on, on women in agriculture in Nigeria. His research contributes evidence-based insights to borders, conversation on environmental sustainability, climate justice, and inclusive development. Beyond academia, he actively engaged in advocacy initiatives aims at highlighting the I beg your pardon, the disproportion the disproportionate impact of climate change on marginalized and vulnerable communities. Through his work, he supports awareness creation, policy, dialogue, and the promotion of inclusive sustainable and right-based response to environmental change. Ladies and gentlemen, with a clapping virtual emoji, help me welcome Barrister Onoh Ugo- Ugochukwu Udochukwu as we have a section this morning.
Okay,
Please
thank you
keep it
so
coming.
much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's an honor to have you here, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you to each and
A
everyone.
pleasure.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Time will fail me to begin to mention each fellows by name, but I can see each and every one of you. It's a privilege to be here. First of all, can we all hear me, please? If you can hear me, could you
We
just,
can hear you loud and
yeah,
clear. So loud and
okay,
clear.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I want to, first of all, appreciate God for this privilege and also want to thank Fasasi Youth Foundation, every led by Fasasi, and also other comrades who are also doing great things in this space. And also to the fellows who are here this morning, I also want to salute your courage because I strongly believe that there are many applicants to this fellowship, but you'll be able to make it to this stage. And it's a big, huge congratulations. And I want to say thank you for being here this morning. I wouldn't waste your time because I believe strongly that there is a purpose why you are here, and the purpose is for impact. And if you are not informed, you'll be deformed. And what distinguishes someone A from B is information. Sometimes we are misinformed, sometimes we are malinformed, and sometimes we are disinformed. These three categories are distinct in different ways, used in different contexts, and the ability to be able to, overcome these three stages gives you an edge. It's not about your intelligence, it's not about your how wise you are, but how informed you are. A lot of people have missed opportunities, not because they weren't qualified in terms of certificate, in terms of the mental knowledge, but because they were not in the right room when that opportunity was thrown open. But right here you are this morning in the right room, trying to get the right skills, soft skills, the hard skills in order to navigate your path to become successful in life in your different endeavors. And my desire is that after this moment, by the end of this section, you will be informed and you will not be disinformed and you will not be malinformed. Thank you. Without much ado, I want to go straight to the topic of today. Sorry, can someone tell us what we are doing this morning? Sorry, please, can you unmute yourself? If you do know what the topic is all about this morning, please, can you unmute yourself and just tell us? Any of the fellows? The floor is open. If you know the topic of this moment for this section, please, can you unmute yourself and then tell us?
Well, I cannot paraphrase it accurately, but I think we'll be discussing using law to be able to track governance, accountability, and responsibility, something like that.
Thank you so much, Mr. Madaki. That was quite a very impressive attempt. Yes, you're on the right track. This morning we'll be talking about using law and advocacy. Law. Be very attentive. Law, advocacy. Two important concepts. And then accountability, to promote accountability, civic participation in social change. Whether we like it or not, the world is evolving. And what was obtainable 10 years ago is not obtainable this day. It has, it's just like they say Gen Alpha, Gen Millennial, whatever, Gen Zs, or what have you. These are stages of life. What was obtainable in the millennial stage is no longer obtainable today. If you use that method, you will crash land. You will not be able to achieve the desired result. But when you use, the right tool, you can be able to excel. And that's why this morning we'll be talking about using law and advocacy to promote accountability, civic participation, and social change. So, that being said, we will understand that these three concepts, law, advocacy, accountability, are very fundamental in what? In promotion of social change. And that being said, we'll be looking at our subtopic will be looking at why law matters to you. You're going to ask yourself, why do law matter? Sometimes people say, does it matter? Does it matter? Ignorance of the law has been often said not to be an excuse. Sometimes someone will say, I didn't know that it was an offense. I didn't know that this law exists. You can only be ignorant of the fact and they can forgive you. But when you're ignorant of the law, it's not an excuse at all. Because why? You ought to know, but you didn't know. Nobody forgives you for not knowing that this is an offense or this law exists. It's left for you to be able to discover that this is a law, and any infringement of that law attracts the requisite penalty. And that's why we're looking at the core concepts of accountability, advocacy, and civic change. We look at the case study in Nigeria with real example and impact. And I'll be delving into the 2020 issues, saga, Lekki, SACS and SACS protest. I'll be also be looking at it and actionable takeaways. Then what can you do as a fellow in this cohort for this section? So now a quick question. Please, I want someone to answer this question. Give me reasons. Have you ever been affected by a bad government decision? Like, have you ever been affected by a bad government decision? If you have, kindly unmute yourself and just in 30 seconds tell me or tell the whole fellows or the whole class, how and how it affected you, how that bad government decision was able to affect you. Thank you. You have the floor. If you know, please kindly unmute yourself and do that. Thank you.
Okay, good morning. I don't know if I could be heard.
Very well. Thank you.
Okay, I go by the name Habal Dr. Mustafa Moreni Keji Olungwain.
Oh, doctor. Well done, sir, doctor.
You're welcome, sir. Okay, I think it is very simple, as you said. It is the law regarding taking care of students done in the Western world. So before the advent of NELFund, it affected many of persons I know, but with the provision of the NELFund, it has tried to see that it mitigates to a certain extent that particular aspect. So that is which I would try to refer to today. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. Yes, that was quite a good example. Yes, is in the good in the sense that the coming of that law was able to assuage the plight of some parents who could not be able to afford to pay tuition fees for their children, for their wards, and for their people who they care about, or family, friends, and what have you. So any other person who can be able to shed more light. Have you ever been affected by any policy or government decisions? Okay, I want to move with the speed of the light. Law and advocacy are the tools that turn frustration, into action. Recently we could be able to look at what is going on within the political terrain. Election is at the corner, and various amendments are going on with the electoral laws or the act itself. And you could see that if there are no laws, you can't be able to conduct election. Is the electoral law that guides the electoral system or election per se. That's why they can be able to set the timetable, the dates, and the modus of operandi, or how this election can be conducted. Because why? There is law. And in the advocacy aspect of it, those who are maybe people who are constitutional lawyers can be able to look out for maybe a particular niche or a particular section of the law that does not go down well with citizens, and then bring it before the National Assembly for amendments. Look at what happened in the last general election. The Irish and the Beavers we are protest, and they were saddled with the responsibility of what making the vote count. However, you and I because but however, we are not better because we know that with time we'll be able to get things right. So this is our nation. We are not giving up, and we cannot give up. So we cannot speak more of evil than good about our nation. So no matter how it looks like, we must be patriotic in making sure we drive this requisite change that can be able to create the anticipated, change or impact that we dream of. Law is not just for lawyers, it belongs to everyone. Sometimes when you talk about law, people think that it's for lawyers alone, but no, it's not for lawyers alone. Because why? It's not only lawyers that are living in a particular jurisdiction. We have people like engineers, we have pharmacists, we have nurses, we have doctors, we have teachers, we have a whole lot of people who live within this jurisdiction. So these laws are not just for those who are learned per se, but they are both for the learned and the unlearned. Because why? Ignorance of the law, as I've said before now, is not an excuse. So you must be informed so that you can be transformed. If you are not informed, you are not transformed, you'll be deformed. So information is key. And also advocacy is how ordinary people change extraordinary things. Look at what happened recently, how the children in Oyo State were kidnapped by bandits. And you saw how some people began to advocate online, for their release and what have you. This is to show because why? There is an existing law. Because why? Even the Constitution, Section 14, makes it explicitly clear that the duty of the state or the country or the government is to protect life and property. So that's not being done, or ignorance of it or negligence of it is not an excuse. Because why? When the government of the day is not doing what they ought to do, citizens and human rights advocates are saddled with to remind them. NGOs, they are saddled with the responsibility to remind the government that they ought to do what they have been elected into the office to do. So now, what is governance? Governance has to do with how power is exercised and managed in a country or state or community. Whether we like it or not, there's governance at every strata, whether at the family level, church level, community level, there is governance. And the federal government has its own structure. The state has its own structure, and the government has its own structure. So that this governance, trickle down across this strata, and they have leaders, they have people who direct the activities as the day goes by. The president at the national level, in terms of this, is in charge of all the hosts. He's number one in the state. When I mean the state of Nigeria, because why? He, he's the one that captains the ship, or is the pilot of the plane. Is where he directs the plane to. That's where the plane goes to. That does not mean that we don't have checks and balances that exist between the national assemblies and the judiciary. That's the legislature and the judiciaries. They also do checks and balances so that the government of the day, the executive, do not act out of context or outside the provisions of the law or the constitution. So that being said, also within the state actors, which are the federal, the state, what have you, we still have ministers. There's governance that exists within this enclave, and also within the non-state actors, which is the civil societies organization, the NGOs, as we all know. Just like this organization is an NGO, there are structures, there are governance that been put in place to regulate the activities. Because imagine if the executive director is not there, the secretary possibly has to take over. That's the structure, that's the governance. Take, for instance, in Nigeria, the absence of the president, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, would create a room for the vice president, Karen Shetima. Because why? There shouldn't be vacuum in the order of governance. So that's why when you see the president not being around, the vice president takes over pending the arrival or the return of the president. We've seen it happen during the last administration when Muhammad Buhari, of blessed memory, was not in the country. He left the country for medical reasons for a couple of weeks, and the then vice president Yemi Osibanjo was able to take over the baton, and we saw what happened during that time. Now, that being said, we have to also understand the place of accountability, because accountability is key. Recall why I was trying to talk about the strata. I was able to inform us of what accountability is all about. Imagine if the executive can do and undo the rascality and all, form of foul play that exists within the system without a check. It will affect the governance, it will affect the system. Even though in the current administration, we see that the legislative arm of the government, which is at the federal level, the House of Senate and House of Rep, they are not performing or living up to the standard. Because why? There are some of the things that they are permitted that ought not to be permitted, possibly because they are in the same party. However, it ought not to be, because during the last administration, during the Saraki administration, we saw how Saraki was able to hold forth the Senate so firm that though he was part of the APC government, but he was able to hold the executive accountable, and he was not a rubber stamp Senate president. He was able to do what he ought to do to see that the government live up to their promises, and that the allegiance he owed to the citizens does not go to the mud. That's why accountability is very important. That's why it has to do with holding power responsible. And the question now this morning is this: as we, continue this fellowship in the coming months or weeks, you will be out of this space. What would you do? Will you go forth in your maybe local government level, look at what has not been done well? How do you go about it? I'll be able to teach you or give you the requisite skills that you need, or tools that you need to be able to hold the government of the day accountable, from the local level to the state and to the national. Now, accountability means those who are in power must explain their decisions, use of public fund and action. Sometimes we've seen the likes of Serap and a lot of people like Showore and Femi Falana. All these people are human rights advocates trying to hold the government of the day accountable. The likes of Gani Fayemi of blessed memory, in fact, history still has is the best human rights advocate Nigeria has ever had, because during the military era, that man did a whole lot. He was able to hold the military to account, and he did a whole lot, and his legacies still lives, because till today we still celebrate what he did during his lifetime. And who knows, someone here this morning, maybe Khadija, maybe Otene, maybe Ogbenede, maybe Madaki, maybe Ogo, and the likes, can be able to take the bull by the horn by saying that they are going to hold the government of the day to account. When you do that, I tell you, you will leave a footprint in the sands of time. You can be the next Gani Fayemi, you can be the next Femi Falana, who have done so well in the place of human rights advocacy. When we look at accountability, we can look at it from the approach of vertical accountability, horizontal accountability, and social accountability. We'll talk vertical accountability, horizontal accountability, and social accountability. We'll take it one by one. Vertical, it has to do with what? The citizen hold the government accountable through vote. Now, people, if I may ask now, how many of you have their PVC? We have been complaining that the government is not doing enough. Hunger is everywhere. There is deficit in infrastructure. There is deficit in terms of health. There is deficit in terms of academics or education. The question now is this: do you have your voter's card? Prior to 2023, I was going about why I was in Gwarimpa. When I was living in Gwarimpa, I was telling them, do you have your voter's card? Do you have your voter's card? Sometimes when I enter into a shopping mall or a plaza or a shop to buy something, I will tell the person who is at the counter, do you have your voter's card? I said, that's my access for me to buy anything from you. I was very serious. I was very mean. And towards the end of the year, the mindset of people began to change. I didn't change the whole community. I only changed people that were very close to me. Sometimes people will say, I want to be like this person. I want to be like this. You can start from somewhere. You can start from your family. You can start from your inner cycle of friends. Ask them. You can say, Otene, do you have your voter's card? Or Otene can say, Khadija, have you gotten your voter's card? Or Madam can say to Ogo, have you gotten your voter's card? Are you going to vote? Or do you have that voter appetite? Like you don't want to vote because the last election did not count. Come on, that it didn't count doesn't mean it cannot count. That the last one did not count well doesn't mean it cannot count. Because I can tell you, the wind of obedient movement in the last election, we all felt it. They never saw it coming, but the youth spoke. And I can guarantee you that if you are not happy with the current administration, the easiest way to do it is what? Advocacy. And in advocating for that change, you must have your PVC. Because what good will it do to you if at the end of the day, you have said you don't like this, you don't like that, but you are still part of the problem? Because why? You do not have your voter's card. Your voter's card distinguishes you from those who are complaining to those who are taking action. I'm not saying you shouldn't complain. It's your human right. You have the right to complain. You have the right to advocate. But in advocating, you must do it properly by what? Going out on that day next year to cast your vote and cast it wisely. Don't cast based on sentiment, based on religion, based on ethnicity. Because these people, when they share money, they don't look at where you come from among themselves. The senators, the House of Rep, the governors, when money comes, they no longer look at you a Christian, you a Muslim, you are Yoruba, you are Igbo, you are Hausa. No, money unifies them. So you have to tell yourself that I must be an agent of change by holding to account those in authority via my votes. The next step you can take is what? Petition. When you see things not going out well, you can do petition to the appropriate authority, telling them to what? Do what they have been elected to do. Some people do not do such, advocacy. They say, let's leave it to God. God himself cannot come down to elect who will be the president, who will be the governor, who will be the senator, who will be the local government chairman. It is you. The future is in your hands to decide who becomes. And how do you do that? It's through votes. Because why? When you vote rightly, and I vote rightly, and my neighbor vote rightly, I can guarantee you that we can end up securing our nation and leave it in the hands of the right people, not in the hand of rogues and illiterates and all forms of people who have criminal records, who cannot even lead their family, let alone lead a nation. Before you can know someone who can lead you, you must ask yourself, had that person led himself? Had that person led their family? A man who is married but cannot lead his family right, what thoughts goes on in your mind that person can lead the nation? Over 250 million Nigerians, someone that could not rule 6 people that are under his roof, can that person rule over 200 million Nigerians? That question you have to ask yourself. When you before you vote, ask yourself, has that person be able to control himself or lead those under him? Or maybe the person was the government chairman. How did he or she perform during his time in office? Does that person have records that are questionable, or does that person have records that are clean? These are questions you have to ask yourself. Then horizontal accountability has to do with institution. Check each other. Institution, how do they check each other? INEC, EFCC, court, NAS. We've seen over time. We will see whereby someone had been given money to do a project and the person embezzled the money. You see, EFCC coming, to them. Even among EFCC, they still see people who do corrupt things, and you see them being, facing trials at the end of the day. They will have social accountability. That's civil society, media, and citizens track public spending and service delivery. I could remember I did a fellowship in 2024. During that fellowship, after the fellowship, we were told to go and track some government projects. One of the ones I was assigned was the Court of Appeal Division in Jabi here. I went there to look at what was going on, the structures in place, and what the minister said, was it in line with what was on ground? And I gave my findings to the organization, what I discovered or my findings. That's to show that I'm trying to, as a citizen, hold the government to account of what they have said. Is it in compliance with what is on ground? Or is it a kind of government that will go and do a video of a nice road somewhere, not even in Nigeria or maybe in another state, and then come and show that this is the work they have done? Whereas the same location that they are saying that they have done a project does not have even an element of such in it. Doing accountability, follow up goes a long way to tell that government of the day that they are lying and they don't have the truth. By doing that, also expose them. The citizens will be able to know that this government do not have their interests at heart and they ought to be voted out. Can we all hear me? Am I too fast? I'm trying to rush because I have just but few moments. Now, what is advocacy? Taking deliberate action to influence policies, laws, and social norms. Mark that word, deliberate action. See, until you are intentional about a change, you cannot be able to. The likes of Martin Luther King Jr. of blessed memory. The reason why today the blacks in America are breathing is because that man paid the ultimate price. Yeah, we might not pay the ultimate price to create desire, but we must be intentional. That man was very intentional. And it was because he was intentional that was what made America today to be what they are. And today, he's being celebrated every year in America. They have Martin Luther King Jr.'s Day. Because that man, even the white people could not fault him. I want to give you a prep. Could you, after this section, go and Google about him? I know some of us here know about him, but some of us maybe might not have known much about him. That man did a great job in promoting human rights advocacy in the whole world, not just in Nigeria alone. His legacy lives forever. It's evergreen because that man changed the trajectory of what advocacy and human rights projects in the world. Because at the end of the day, we saw how that man was able to influence without gun. That man did not use gun. No. He didn't use a hammer or machete to create advocacy. That man used words. That's to show that you can use your words rightly and you can be able to create the desired change. The First World War, history has it that it was through the word of mouth that led to First World War. Second World War, the same thing. If you use your tongue properly, you can be able to create desired change. This man used his word that nobody could fault him. I'm not a pro-Obi fan, but when you look at Peter Obi, that man, you can never see him using vulgar language or using abusive language in addressing his opponent. He is always objective. He is always wise, constructive with his words. He doesn't speak anyhow. And that's why today you can't fault him. He is faultless when it comes to accountability. He's without any shadow of doubt faultless. And still today, no person can be able to match that record. That was what Martin Luther King stood for. He was faultless. Nobody could be able to match his record. And that was why he was able to create desired change. And you too today can also be the next Martin Luther, who can be able to create desired change in your local government. It starts from somewhere. You can start from your family. From your family, you can go to your local government, to your state, from your state to the nation, and from the nation to the globe. Who says you cannot be a global icon? We've had people who have been reckoned with globally because why? They discovered a problem. You must discover a problem first, and you must be intentional about that problem to solve it. One thing with Nigerians is that we always say this is happening, that is happening, corruption, but we can't provide solution to this corruption. You must be able to tell yourself, okay, there's corruption. How do I provide solution? Is you being what? Incorruptible. Because some people can say there is corruption, but they themselves are corrupt as well. If you must fight corruption, you yourself must not be corrupt. Because pot cannot call kettle black. You must not be corrupt. If you want equity, he that comes to equity must come with a clean hand. You can't accuse someone of stealing, whereas you also stole. So there must be that what cleanness and piety in everything you do. So in advocating, you have to create public awareness. Look at today, when the Chibok Girls something came, there was public awareness, there was rally, there was town hall meeting, even not too young to run bill, which later became an act. There was public awareness that the young people have been marginalized, the young people have been told that they are leaders of tomorrow, and tomorrow has come, yet there is no leadership among young folks. They now said, no, something must be done. And that was why the Yaga and his team were able to create public awareness, rally, town hall meetings, social media campaigns, and what have you. At the end of the day, 2018 bettered Not Too Young to Run Act. Until today, it has been a wonderful time because why? Some young folks have been able to see the ability to be able to contest. Some have won, some have not won. But the truth is this: it changed the narrative of what it used to be. Before, it was the old men that have held the position, back in the days before 2019. But now, after 2018, the law was signed to be 2019 election caused a traffic in the electoral, system of Nigeria that's held the old folks accountable and made them to leave the space or the stage of politics and then welcome the younger generation. You see, in advocacy, you have to build coalition groups and also media. We're in the digital age today. You cannot undermine the power of media. A whole lot of change has happened because of media. Look at the Lakey Garden issue, that's the SARS issue. It was through media, the power of media. People were on TikTok, people were on Facebook, on WhatsApp, on Instagram, on X, which was formerly Twitter, causing a whole lot of traffic. That was when the government of the day knew that these youths were not backing down. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 2 weeks, they were on the streets saying enough of what? Police brutality. If not that we have media and the right use of it, we couldn't have had SARS being scrapped, because today SARS is no more. This is the power of what? Advocacy, and the power of media, and the power of what? Unity. Because you can never tell what can happen when people are united. Now, I want us to look at SARS as a case study. What happened? Can someone unmute the mic and just tell us, just in 1 minute, what NSAS was like? You have the floor. Anybody can unmute themselves and then. Can you unmute yourself and then speak to us if you want to make a comment on that?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thank you.
All right.
What's your name,
Just
please?
my name is Paddy Friday.
Sorry?
My name is Paddy Friday.
Okay, fine. Okay, thank you. You have the floor.
All right. What I know about the NSAS protest, as at then, it was about the brutality that the SARS were enforcing on the citizens. A lot of violation of human rights. So that was why people were coming out to contest that SARS should be blotted out.
Okay, thank you so much. Yes, the people, because of the police brutality on the streets, the people were very angry because, anyone they see on dreadlock, I don't do dreadlock anyway, but that's not a license to accuse someone wrongly. And, we saw all those kind of, unlawful actions by the men of Nigerian police force, and how it led to untimely demise of so many young Nigerians who could have become agents of change in the near future. And we can see how the people took to the streets and used the Twitter space or the X to be able to cause the desired change. And then we can see the protest, during those time at Lekki, toll gates, how people were able to stand to their ground. And we saw the pressure that came to the government, and then the international community coming on board to also tell the government to give a listening ear to the citizens and to the youths. And the law that was used, you can see that Section 35 has to do with right to liberty, and Section 34, right to human dignity, Section 40, assembly, because towards that time, you could recall that at a time the government wanted to, disband gathering at Lekki toll gate, but people continue to, exercise their franchise or their rights to protest or rights to advocacy, because why? Section 40 of the Constitution 1999, as altered, makes provision for citizens to exercise the right of assembly and also other rights that are embedded in this, provision of the Constitution. And that being said, what happened? Desired change was achieved. SARS was scrapped out. SARS was disbanded. And judicial panel was set up in all the states for the Lekki massacre, and then they drew a global attention. Imagine if these people did not take, to the streets and say enough is enough. I tell you, that police brutality could have continued up to this moment. But today, SARS has been disbanded. The international organizations have been able to hear the cry of the youths. Yes, even though it was not satisfactory, because why? We are not too happy with the outcome, because the outcome was far bigger than what we have on ground, because it could have been better if the government of the day was able to reduce the harshness, the poverty level, the hunger that is in the land. However, we are still on track. It might not be today, but certainly someday we'll be able to achieve our desired goal. As you and I keep on advocating, keep on lending our voices, keep on, telling the government of the day what they ought to know, not what they want to hear. Because sometimes some young people, when they are opportunity to be in the government, they forget that they were once like, those on the streets, they forget everything, just like the alleged issue that has to do with Desmond Elliot. He was once a normal citizen, but happened to have the opportunity to be in the Lagos State House of Assembly. And then, end of the day, he forgot where he was coming from. And then karma came upon him. And today, he's also back to the streets. But that's what it is like when you get there and you no longer see the need to advocate for the common people. Now, when you look at number two case study, look at SERAP and federal government of Nigeria. You can see SERAP. Who is SERAP? SERAP has to do with social economic rights and accountability projects. A Nigerian, NGO or civil society organization using legal tools to demand transparency, accountability from government. You must have to understand that this organization, have done a whole lot. They have been able to an extent hold the government to account to do what they ought to do. Even though sometimes some of the actions they bring before the Federal High Court, sometimes, government, the federal government will, through its, AG, defend it by filing a preliminary objection that SERAP do not have the local standard to sue. I have a witness one couple of months back when SERAP brought an action against the government, and then before the Federal High Court, and the government through the federal government was able to say that you people don't have the local standards to try this matter. That does not mean that they do not have the right to contest or to bring the government to account. They do to an extent, but not in all cases. So the tools that SERAP has used over the time has been the Freedom of Information Act 2011. What do these two avail us? It avails us the right to demand the government to give us a clear picture of what they have done with whatever funding they have received, maybe in the last 5 years, the last 10 years, or as the case may be, because it has to do with what public interest litigation. And then you see media coming there to question or to interview, SERAP, or to interview the government of the day. What do they think about about the legal action? That's it. And the outcome. What do you think is the outcome at the end of the day? court can order the government to release detailed accounts of the fund set president for civil society using court to compel, transparency. It has happened, in 2021, 2022, I happened to be in one of the fora where, we are being taught about how to use this Freedom of Information Act 2011. And it has been quite an experience, because even you as a person, you can go to local government and ask your local government chairman to show you a detailed and comprehensive record of of how he has used the fund that he has been given in the last 2 years or in the last 4 years. You have the right, you can do it by following the right channel. And that's what advocacy is all about. And that's what Freedom of Information has provided for us. Then we look at the global case study. In South Africa, you've seen what has happened, the issue of xenophobic attacks, Nigerians being told to return back home, Ghanaians being told to return back home, Mozambique being told to return back home. This has happened in the last few days. You and I have seen some Nigerians have been repatriated courtesy of Air Peace and Federal Republic of Nigeria. And it has not been a good one. Some people are advocating that South African institutions should be clamped down, like maybe DSTV, MTN, and what have you. There are various opinions or various ideas or thoughts about these issues. However, the rights process must be adopted, because I wouldn't tell you to take laws into your hands by trying to apply jungle justice. Because why? When you do that, ignorance of the law, as I often say, is not an excuse. The law will come upon you with the sledge of the hammer in full force. So for that not to happen to you, for you not to be a victim of that, you must be able to be compliant within the ambits of the law. And you must know the law to be able to take the right steps. Because when you do not know the law and you act, you cannot be, exonerated. Because why? The punitive sanctions will be meted to such a person, despite the person being ignorant of that law. So now, interactive activity, you have to think, you have to discuss, you have to decide. Look at this scenario. Your university has announced 40%, like you're a National State University, because I know that we have some students from National State here and other institutions within that environment. Now you can now ask yourself, imagine, look at this scenario. Imagine your university has announced 40% hike in tuition fees effective next semester. Economics biting hard. Your parents are struggling to pay your tuition fees, and then there's 40%, not even 2%, not even 10%, 40% increase, almost 50% increase. And then many students cannot afford this. The student union has called a meeting. You attend. Now discuss the person next to you. In the next 2 minutes, I want one or two persons to tell us what legal rights do you have as a student in this situation, and what advocacy step would you take? Can someone unmute and tell us? If you can hear me, can you unmute someone, please? We are pressed for time. I can see so many people here. I can see Nancy, I can see Khadija, I can see Madaki, I can see Ogbenede, I can see Ogo, I can see Olahunoyi, and the rest of the others. Kindly unmute and tell us what you think you can do.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon to you, Mr. Farouk.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Yeah, I can hear you, Mr. Farouk. Go on. You have the floor.
Farouk Muhammad by name.
Okay.
So as a student, when that kinds of policy was introduced or is introduced by the school management, where this is the stage where the school, what we call the student representative,
Okay.
SRC, SUG, are responsible to speak out the mind of the students, demanding for the demanding for the solutions or finding from the either from the government and the school management itself. And of
Okay.
course, the parents union has to involve in that regard to consider
Okay.
it. But the students, what you have to do, you have to write to make a formal or to take a legal step of using your student representative to channel
Yes.
your complaints there, and they can confront the student affairs, that is the deanery of student affairs, to further the students' demands, so
Yes.
that the school management should take an official notice about the policy effects or the policy issues or the students' issue regards to the policy introduced by the school management. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Farouk. I love that submission. I love that submission. You go through the appropriate authority, which is SUG, which is the Student Union Government, because you can't go solely on your own, and because why it's a collective interest project. So definitely you have to go to the SUG, and then in doing that, you must have to also find out the true states of it, because you deal with facts and figures, right? You deal with data. Data is very important because when you are not having the right data, you can be speaking of the right data, and when the right data is not there, government can even say he's lying, that we did not say 40% tuition fee hike, that what we said was 10%, because maybe some people can come to platform, maybe National State University platform, and then post, do you know that next month or next section, government is hiking or increasing the tuition fee to maybe 100,000. I do not know how much people are paying at the moment. And then maybe there is a rumor to that, maybe that they want to increase the tuition fee, there is going to be a hike for the next semester or next section, but it's not 100,000. And then someone will come and say, it's 100,000, whereas it's maybe 50,000 naira. And then someone decides to take action by saying, I'm going to contest with, I'm going to protest on its own, or SUG go and then begin to cause, protest across the school environment. Yes, they are protesting for something that is legitimate, but they don't have the right information. Because why? It wasn't 100,000. The increase was to 50,000. So you must have the right data, the right information, so that when you are canvassing or when you are expressing your concerns or your grievances, you have the right data, you have the right information, so that at the end of the day, you are not misinforming the people. Do you get what I'm saying? You are rightly informed, and with the right information, you take the right action. And then when you do that, the government of the day, the university environment will know that these student union are well informed, very informed, and then they will call for a round table meeting or peaceful, kind of amicable settlement. Because why? You have the right tool, you have the right data, and they cannot be able to contest it. They can't be able to oppose it, because what the right data is there. So how do you file petition? There are step-by-steps to file petition. Anyone can do this, including you. I mustn't be a lawyer to file a petition. Some people say, I want to write a petition. I don't have a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. You must not be a lawyer. So I want you to get that at the center of your mind, that you mustn't be a lawyer to file a petition. You can file a petition without being a lawyer, and anyone can do that, as I've said. So the first step to take is what? Be specific. Identify the issue. Like, take for instance now, the issue of high institution fee. Identify the issue. When you identify the issue, and you will now track how long has this issue been. After which, you will now know, what is my right to this issue. You know what section of the law gives me right to canvass or to vent my concern legitimately. You must know what position of the Constitution or any law in place that gives you rights to exercise your fundamental human rights. Then when you do that, you now identify the authority. Who are you going to go to? The school management. And also you can copy the state government as well. Then you write it clearly. Your writing must be clear, not ambiguity. You don't need to speak too much grammar. Go straight to the point. Hit the nail on the head with facts, with data, with evidence, attaching it. You can't say that there is a notice of increasing the school fees from 10 naira to 20 naira without any circular. You must have the document in place. Attaching it, you will say, kindly find attached the document or the circular or the gazette, whatever, that gave rights to this petition. So when the government officials or the VC is reading that letter or the petition, he is seeing attached document of the purported notice of increase. If that document or those documents are not attached, the VC will say this person is not talking story. You are doing hearsay, and it can't be admissible. Now, you have to submit proof, and then you follow up. You don't just write petition and then you go and relax and say, okay, I've done my petition. When you are done, you follow up. And when you are going, you have two of those documents, endorsement and return. The one that the office of the VC can acknowledge and sign behind it, collected by maybe the secretary to the VC on this day at so time, and then you give them the original and you hold the photocopy, so that tomorrow, if they deny that they did not receive any letter, you will show them what the stamp of the VC, the date it was received, the secretary's signature, and the time. Because why? When you are accusing someone of something, you must have evidence. If not, they will tell you are telling stories. Now, I want to test our knowledge again. Under which section of the Constitution can a citizen sue the government for violating their rights? Under which section? Or under which chapter of the Constitution? If you know it, kindly unmute and then answer. Thank you. We are pressed for time. I'm running up already. I have up to 8 slides to be able to run up. So if you know it, please kindly unmute and then answer. Under which chapter of the Constitution can one, bring action for abuse of his or her fundamental rights? Is someone bailing the whole class? We have over 16 persons here, if I'm not mistaken. So I know people are not lawyers, but anyway, that's okay. I would answer that, but this shows the level of maybe the knowledge we have or the knowledge gap that exists between we understanding the fundamental rights as a person and knowing how to apply those rights. I think I'm giving you a second assignment today. Kindly go and look at chapter 4 of the 1999 Constitution as altered. Look at it very well from 33 to 46. These are where your rights are embedded. If you don't know your rights, you can't even know where it is abused. So chapter 4 of the Constitution from 33 to 46 makes provision for any citizens to air their grievances to the Advocacy, which is the court of law. Then, now, for press of time, I would go to the next slide. Social media as a tool for social change. Most times, if you recall vividly, in 2014, the Chibok girls, you saw hashtags, bring back our girls. 2020, hashtag, NSAS. 2026, hashtags, bring back our children from the captivity of the kidnappers or bandits in Oyo State, in Borno State, and what have you. These are ways of using social media as a tool of advocacy. Use of Twitter or X, Instagram, Facebooks, WhatsApp. These are means people use to express their grievances and bring the government to account. Through this thing, you see pressure on the government. During the Chibok year something, pressure was on the government so much that it's even attracted foreign or international attention, like the US, UK, EU, AU, ECOWAS, and then trying to, make the government of the day at that time, Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, to do the needful and to bring back these children. Now, as I'm trying to wrap up, I want to ask another question. What does FOI stands for? Can someone unmute? What does FOI stands for? I'm trying to merge the whole remaining slides so that we can go to questions and then discussion.
Hello, sir.
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello,
Go on.
sir.
Yes,
The
I
meaning
go
of FOI is that information, the freedom of information.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Freedom of
Thank
Information
you.
2011. Thank you so much. That's the meaning. And as I've said before, this is a kind of an airway, or a kind of, it's like a window for every citizen to hold their politicians to account. When you want to hold anyone to account, maybe in your local government, in your states, or at the national level, you can quietly make an application demanding that so information be furnished to you by that government organization or that government agency, that you need so information. You can write to even to FCT, Minister of FCT, or even your governor, or even your local government chairman, asking them that on so time they did so projects. We want to see how much they spent. They cannot hide it from you. The law says that they are mandated, they are compelled. It's a must. They must what? Disclose that to you. Because why? It's your right. It's taxpayers' money. They cannot hide it from you. And if they want to do that, you can bring an action before the Federal High Court in FCT or any part of Nigeria you are. You can bring an action for the Federal High Court mandating them to disclose such information, because it's your right to know. Because Freedom of Information Act 2011 has been able to give us that opportunity to hold the government to account. Now, as we're wrapping up, I'm going to ask you now that as you leave the space in the sense that the fellowship space in coming days or weeks, how do you want to cause desired change in your society? How? As we wrap it up, how do you want to? Do you have anything in place? Do you have a particular problem that has been troubling you, or issues, or a kind of a gap in your society that you need to fix? That's how advocacy starts. You must discover a problem and then decide. You must be intentional, because if you are not intentional about the change, you will never make that change. A whole lot of people have desired to change things in society, but they are not intentional. The wind of life blows them anywhere. Anywhere the wind blows them, they go. They are not intentional. Maybe sometimes money is given to them. Maybe the government of the day will call them and say, Oga, you are talking too much. Come and take 100 million. Once they give them the money, they are gone. They will now begin to talk from their two sides of their mouth. I don't want to mention them today in Nigeria. There are people who we are castigating, a kind of speaking ill of the current government. But when they now gave them one position, they began to talk with the two sides of their mouth, even when evidence was very clear against them, that they was criticized that government. So, but that's it. So I want us this moment or this afternoon to, as we leave this space now, go and design your own advocacy plan. Go and design it. How do you want to identify the issue first? If it is in your state or in your region or in your locality, you don't have water or you don't have street lights, you will write it down. That's the problem. Then what are the relevant laws or rights that gives you the power to make this advocacy? You have to look at it. Then who is responsible? Is it local government chairman? Is it the state governor or the state government, or is it the president or the national government? You have to identify. Then you map out your advocacy plan or steps. Are you going to use the social media? Are you going to use the stakeholders meeting? Are you going to use, through the instrument of the courts to do that? It's you that knows what method that you believe will work well for you. That you have to set time. Your goal must be smart. You must be specific. You must measure it, and you must have to set time. Let it be realistic. Don't just say, I'm going to, do this and that. We don't have a timeline. If you don't have a timeline, 2 years, you have not even done it. So you must set timeline. And when you have done that, I bet you the desired change will definitely come. But when you don't do that, you might end up running cycles, and 10 years will come and go, 20 years will come and go without any distinct. And I want to leave you with this. Change begins with you. The most dangerous person to any corrupt system is an educated person, organized and legally aware citizen. That's why you see today corruption everywhere. But most time you can't even trace that corruption to them, because they are educated and they are using the instruments of their wisdom or education they have to run the state down, to run the nation down. Because why? They know how to hide money. They know how to do anything they need to do to cover up their mess. But when you're educated and you are organized and you are legally aware to do the right thing, they themselves will also fear you. So you know your rights, you use the law, you demand for accountability. Thank you so much. So right now, I want to kindly ask, if you have any question, please kindly do well by asking, why I will be able to answer these questions. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Okay, sir. Sorry for the too much interaction or contributing, but sir, I wanted to have our questions over regarding your question that you have already thrown it to us. Before you have given us a certain area that we have to go and look over the chapter 4 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria about the fundamental human rights. Hello, sir.
Yeah, please, could you be more audible?
Okay, sir. I say I wanted to ask a question regards to the assignment that you give us before.
Okay.
Like you give us assignment over the chapter 4 of the 1999 Constitution that is specifically talking about the fundamental human rights of the citizens.
Yes.
But the previous question where you firstly asked us about the specific constitution sections that talk about or that give a citizen's rights to talk about or to seek for his own fundamental rights when it was being violated. So I want to ask whether section 36, that is the section 36 that's talking about the fundamental fair hearing, it is a suitable section that can be the response of your question. It is right, sir?
Okay. Yeah, it's part of it, because section 36, which has to do with fair hearing,
Yes,
is very wide. What I mean is very large. From subsection 1 to subsection 12 is very wide. It's all encompassing. You get what I'm saying? So
yes, sir.
the section 36 itself, it's like something that, as not just as a lawyer, but as a citizen, you must know it very well, because it makes provision to, when your right is trampled upon, maybe issues like how to do it, maybe your right to fair hearing, your right to being having access to a particular instrument of the law or not, And also, sometimes if you are not acquainted with Section 36, you can be a kind of held liable for what you are not ought to be held liable for. Because Section 36 itself even made provision that nobody should be what convicted or punished beyond the stipulated provision or the offense at the time in force, or you should not be sentenced or committed for any offense that was not in force at the time that thing was committed. So, but when you do not know that, it will go a long way affecting you. So that notwithstanding, you also have to understand what Section 33 is also saying: rights to life, 34, personal liberty, human dignity, 35, 36, 37, private family life, 38, 39, 40, freedom of movement, association, right to own property, and what have you. You need to know them, because failure knowing this thing will affect you. I have seen a lot of people who, because they are not informed of what their rights are, they, in fact, yesterday, let me just share this knowledge. Yesterday, a client reached out to me, and he's a friend. I call him a friend. He was saying that he had a transaction, and after the contract transaction, the deal was sealed, payment was made. Before you know it, the person who made the payment went and abused the process, and now wanted to come and hold him liable. I say, Oga, you're not liable for this thing. Look at it. If he had thought this story again, tell him that that your lawyer should be involved. That was how the person never called him again. So imagine if he doesn't have someone who understands the system, or who understands what his right is all about. That's how he could have expanded money on where he ought not to expand money. So you must know your rights very well as a citizen. It's not just because your right to life. Know when your right to life is being trampled upon. Know when your dignity of human person is trampled upon. Someone cannot come and slap you, and then you just keep quiet without, you didn't do the person anything. But if you know your rights, you can be able to say there's assault, there's battery, and you can come either through normal legal action, or you can come through fundamental human rights enforcement procedure in 2009 and then enforce such rights. But if you don't know them, okay, look at owning property, section 43. When you don't know that you have right to own property, either as a woman or as a man, it will affect you. In some communities, women are not allowed to own property. So the question now is this: between the constitution and your local government laws, which one is superior? The answer is the constitution. But because some people are not aware, they are afraid. They say that women are not allowed to own property, so that's the custom, that's the tradition. But when you know the law, you can be able to tell the person that section 43 of the Constitution 1999 allows any person to own property anywhere in Nigeria. Does that, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Fam,
Yes,
does that
sir.
answer your question?
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you. Any other question, please? Any other question? Any other question?
If there's any other question, please kindly raise up your hand, and the question you will be granted the answer to ask the question. And we have actually gone spent our time. Kindly respond to this now. If you have any other question, and if you don't have any question, we'll move to the next um, segment. Thank you very much, our facilitator. Thank you for the time well spent. Thank you for the knowledge. We are not taking it for granted. This is very profound, and we really appreciate your time with us, and we are not taking it for granted. God bless you immensely. Thank you for coming. So,
Thank
in
you so
accent
much.
of not no, all right,
Thank you,
sir.
Mr.
In
John. I
accent
appreciate,
of
and thank you for each
you're
and every one
welcome.
of
Please,
you.
let's with the clapping emoji. Let's appreciate our facilitator for today, um, our learned person, kindly show him some love, some regard. We really appreciate him with your emoji, clapping emoji, love emoji. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. So furthermore, we'll be going to kindly check the chat box. You are expected to fill the post test, which it has been dropped now for us. Kindly fill the post test. Thank you very much, everyone. Please fill the post test. While we are doing that, I will encourage us to on our camera. Please, let's on our camera. Also, fill the attendance. Please fill the attendance before you exit this call. Post test and attendance has been dropped. Check. Post test and attendance have been dropped on the chat box. Are we together? Now we are going to take our pictures. Please kindly on your camera. Everybody kindly on your camera. Along knowing I'm not mistaken. Nancy, on your camera, please. Kindly on your camera, everybody. If you're in a dark place, kindly move to a place you can see your face properly. Aisha, Chogudongbe, please let's have these pictures. Let's be in our best form and let's have our smiling face on. Thank you very much. Let's have our smiling face. Kindly watch at your camera and see how you're positioning. So if your face don't be at a particular side of the camera, while yeah, try to centralize your face on your camera. Nancy, hello. Nancy, can you on your camera, please? Can Nancy on her camera? I hope she can even hear me. Okay, Esther, can you on your camera? Thank you very much. Aisha, I think she's far from her phone. Okay. I'm taking the picture after the count of 3, 2, 1. Please be in your best facial look. Don't regret the pictures after it's been snapped. Thank you. Try to be your best. Even though you don't feel like smiling, just try and pretend that you want to smile right now. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Farouk, Tadi, Madaki, Nancy. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. It's a delight, pleasure to host you all today, the moderated section. My name is John Adeleke. I remain John Adeleke, and please, I want you to go to the chat box and fill the attendance and the pretest. Thank you very much. Do have a great day. Kindly acknowledge that you have filled the pretest, and do have a blessed day. I believe we kept the time. I believe we are on point. Thank you very much. You can mute your mic and say whatever you want to say. You are allowed. The floor is open. Thank you for being in the meeting. It's a pleasure and a delight to have you all here. We are not taking it for granted. Thank you very much.
Hey